Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new live episode of Ask Huda. I am filling in for Dr. Muhammad Salah, and I'm honored to assume his position and take his place for tonight's show. You will find the numbers under or at the bottom of your screens. If you have a question, feel free to call. Meanwhile, Noor says, is it acceptable to give Quran as a sadaqah in behalf of my mother? She already passed away. The Prophet ﷺ said that when an individual dies, his good deeds are interrupted, except from three things. One, a continuous charity. Two, beneficial knowledge. Three, a righteous offspring that makes dua for that individual. When we look at continuous charity, this means that the charity is ongoing. When you feed a poor person, it's a meal that he consumes and it's gone. But when you build a masjid, when you dig a well, when you give a Quran to a masjid or to an institution or to a circle of tahfidh, and the students keep on reading and learning and reciting the Quran from it, it is continuous ajr and reward for your deceased. Therefore, definitely you are permitted and it is acceptable to give a copy of the Quran as sadaqah on behalf of your deceased one. Hanizha says, is it okay for my mother to go to Hajj alone? We are from the Philippines, and it is her first time, inshallah, to perform Hajj this year. She will be accompanied by a sheikh and together with friends. Now, the issue of performing Hajj without a male mahram, there are difference of opinion among scholars. The vast majority prohibit this. But let us not look into the different opinions of scholars. Let us go back to the Quran and to the Sunnah. An authentic hadith. The Prophet said, ﷺ, it is not permissible for a woman who believes in Allah and the Day of Judgment to travel without a male mahram. A statement so beautifully put by our Prophet ﷺ. Now, the Prophet said to travel. Maybe Hajj is included, maybe it's not. Any type of travel is prohibited without a male mahram. This is what the Prophet said ﷺ. Okay, then let us look at what happened after the Prophet said this. A man stood up among the companions after hearing this instruction from the Prophet ﷺ, the prohibition of a woman traveling without a male mahram. So he said, "O Prophet of Allah, my name was selected to go on an expedition for jihad. I'm going to fight in the cause of Allah with army so and so. But my wife went for Hajj." So the guy is in a dilemma. The Prophet ﷺ said to him, "Go and catch with your wife. Catch up with your wife." Which the scholars looked at the hadith and said, You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand this. The Prophet did not ask him, alayhi salam, is your wife young or old? The Prophet did not ask him to explain whether she was beautiful or ugly. The Prophet ﷺ did not ask him whether she was alone or with a trustworthy companionship, like a sheikh or other friends and women. The Prophet did not inquire, which means that the ruling is for all. Go and catch up with your wife, because if it was permissible to go alone or with trustworthy companion, the Prophet would not have ordered him to leave jihad and go and accompany his wife. So when you hear and read and learn this hadith, and you learn of difference of opinions of other scholars, you say to them with all due respect, this is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. They said, yeah, but Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, sent the mothers of the believers, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, to perform Hajj. So every woman had her mahram with her. Where does it say in the hadith that they did not have mahrams? Not only that, Sauda bint Zum'ah, may Allah be pleased with her, she was among the mothers of the believers that would never have traveled out of Medina, period. They would say, okay, there's another hadith where the Prophet told us that there will come a time when a woman travels from Adhan to, in Hadramut, or to Sana'a in Yemen, etc., alone. Okay, the Prophet is telling us about something that would happen in the future, not that he's approving of it. Imagine that the Prophet, when he tells us about the coming of the Dajjal, is he approving of it and saying that this is a good thing? Or rather, he's telling us about a prediction of something that Allah told him that would happen in the future. So when you come with this clear evidence from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and you find that there are different opinions of scholars, you raise your hat to all the scholars and say, with all due respect, I only follow the Quran and the Sunnah, especially if the Sunnah is crystal clear. How dare I follow Tom, Dick, or Harry when the hadith is crystal clear? I appreciate their ijtihad. I appreciate what they had said. But the majority follow the hadith of scholars. And the hadith is crystal clear. So I believe that this is not permissible for your mother to go. We have Lubna from the Netherlands. So it's not Holland anymore. Yes, Sister Lubna. Sister Lubna. I apologize. It seems that we've kept her waiting for too long. Okay. Okay, so we move on to the following question. It is from Kaushik. And he says, can I make dua in prostration? Now, the quick answer would be yes. Can I make dua? Yes. The extended version of the answer would be, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the closest a servant of Allah is to Allah when he is in prostration. Therefore, make as much dua as you can. Full stop, unquote. This is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So, when someone comes to you and says, oh Sheikh, our school of thought, our Maulana, our scholars, our Imams, say that you cannot make dua in sujood of worldly matters. Say that you cannot make dua in sujood in fard prayer. Say that you cannot make dua in sujood in your own language. Tell them with all due respect, this is not true. You can make dua for things in the hereafter or things for worldly matters. Oh Allah, fix my car. Oh Allah, grant me a better car, a newer model. No problem. If you don't ask Allah, who will you ask? Allah has so many servants and slaves and creatures that worship Him. But we have only one Lord, one God that we can ask of Him. Therefore, you can ask anything you want from Allah Azza wa Jal, providing it is not evil. You don't ask Allah to facilitate sin for you. Oh Allah, I'm dating this girl, make it happen. No, this is haram. And you don't ask Allah for transgression, for evil deeds, killing people, etc., which is al-baghi wal-'udwan. This is not permissible. Okay, what about fard and sunnah? They're the same. Anyone who says that we cannot make dua in fard sujood, he has to provide us with the evidence, because it was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam who said, make as much dua as you can in sujood, because you are closest to Allah Azza wa Jal. So we cannot come and say, oh no, only in sunnah. Thirdly, you can make it in your own native language, with a condition that you are unable to ask Allah in Arabic. So I want Allah to pay off my debt. In Arabic it is Allahumma qadi anni dayni. Do I know how to say this? Yes, say it in Arabic. Don't say it in your language. But if I don't know Arabic and I don't know how to ask this particular thing in Arabic, say it in your native language, and there is no problem in that, inshallah. We have a caller? Okay. Sister Lubna? Sister Lubna from the Netherlands? Sister Lubna? Okay, the Netherlands is very far away, so the call to come, it takes maybe minutes, and we may need an Uber for that. Anyhow, we move on to the following question. How should we line up in the prayer? This is from Zainab. So most likely Zainab is asking about the congregation of women. How would they line up? Well, the scholars say that a woman, when leading other women, must not stand in front of them like men do in normal masjids. If I'm going to lead a prayer, I stand in front of the first row. This is the sunnah. This is how it's supposed to be. But in the case of a woman leading other women, she must stand in the same row, which is the first row, with them. So on her right and on her left are other women worshippers. Why is that? Because this is a sunnah. And we don't have any known justification. You can come up with 5, 6 ideas, but none of them would hold any credibility, because if the justification does not come from Allah Azza wa Jal, or from the Prophet Azza wa Jal, or from one of the companions, and no one opposed it, then it does not hold a lot of value. Mahruq, but, and I hope may Allah Azza wa Jal preserve us from, or muharraq, whatever. Anyhow, is it necessary for the bride to cover her face? Is the bride allowed to do makeup? So this question is composed of 2 questions. 1, a bride, can she come out without covering her face? I have to ask you a question. Is she coming out to non-mahram men to watch her, or this is only exclusive for other women? If it is exclusive only for women, and it is segregated, and photos and videos are prohibited to be taken, in this case, there's no problem, none whatsoever, in a bride coming out to celebrate her wedding night in front of other women. This is what all women do. But if there would be non-mahram men, such as the waiters, such as the in-laws, or like in so many Muslim countries, unfortunately, it is free mixing. So the men and the women, they're all in one hall. Each one of them is wearing the best of attire and clothes. the men are wearing their three-piece suits or the tuxedos, and the women are, full-fledged makeup. And this is totally haram. Whether it's a wedding, or it's a aqiqah, or it's a gathering, or it's homecoming, or it's a school reunion, all of this is haram in Islam. Because when you see such things in front of you, if you claim that you don't have any desire for the opposite gender, either you're gay or you have a problem with your hormones. And the third option is you're a blatant liar. So this is natural. It's human nature that we are attracted to the opposite sex. This is how Allah created us. And this is why Allah governed the relationship between men and women. He didn't say, go to your temples or to your houses of worship or to your churches and never ever interact. No. You want to interact, you can marry. You can interact with your mahram, your sister, your daughter, your mother, your aunt. But to interact with non-mahram, it's putting fuel next to fire and hoping that nothing ignites. And this is not possible. So for a bride to come out in the presence of a segregated party, only women, and no one is taking photographs or videotaping, this is totally permissible. As for wearing the makeup, the same question applies, or the same answer applies. Not only for brides, any woman who applies makeup must cover her face, even if she does not believe that niqab is mandatory. Because applying makeup, to all scholars of Islam, is prohibited to be looked at by non-mahram men. So those who do not believe that the niqab is mandatory, they say yes, the face of the woman is not awra. She can come out, but she must not adorn herself. She must not put foundations or makeup or eyeliners or mascara or maskhara, we call it in Arabic. So touche. So this is not permissible. So to go out wearing makeup is prohibited if non-mahram men would see her, whether she's a bride or not. Shayma says, I wanted to ask if it is permissible to purchase frozen mice for my pet cat to eat. I never knew that they sell frozen cats. And your cat is lucky. To buy frozen mice for your cat is something that is not permissible. Why? I have to buy food, cat food. Yeah, okay, let's analyze. What's the ruling on keeping mice? Haram. What's the ruling on killing mice? Mandatory. What's the ruling on selling and buying mice? Prohibited, because this is a haram animal when we're ordered to kill it. So when you buy such haram product and you pay money for it, this transaction is haram. If you want to feed your cat, there are a lot of other halal alternatives. So if the cat food ingredients include pork, it is not permissible for you to buy, because pork is prohibited to sell and buy. So Sheikh, we look into the supermarkets whenever we want to buy food for ourselves and read the ingredients and have these magnifying glasses. Now you want us to read the same for our cats? This is too much. Akhi, it is not an issue of too much or too little. It's an issue of, am I allowed to buy such haram ingredients or not? If someone gives it to you as a gift, it's okay for you to take. Not only that, it's okay for your cat to eat. How are you gonna cook the frozen mice? Are you gonna marinate it in balsamic vinegar or put some additives to it, this is your problem. But to buy with your halal money mice that is najis, that is haram to own, that is haram to breed, let alone to buy it, this is not permissible, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Marian or Marina, Marian, I don't know who's writing these people's names. Maybe Maryam. Says, a friend of mine left for Umrah and unfortunately had her menses on her way there. She is asking if it's permissible for her to touch the Hajar al-Aswad while in her menses. Well, Maryam, she is not permitted to enter the masjid, let alone touch the Hajar al-Aswad. Hajar al-Aswad means the black stone, which is in the Kaaba itself, which is the Qibla of the Muslims. A woman in her menses, when a woman is in her monthly cycle, she's not permitted to enter the masjid. And this is the most authentic opinion. The evidence behind that is that the Prophet ﷺ once was in i'tikaf. I'tikaf is seclusion. When a worshipper stays the last 10 nights of Ramadan in the masjid, does not come out unless there's a necessity, such as answering the call of nature. So we know that the masjid was adjacent to the houses of the Prophet ﷺ, and each chamber or house of the Prophet ﷺ had a door to the masjid for ease of access. So the Prophet said ﷺ and asked Mother Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, to hand him over a piece of cloth. Let's assume a towel. So Aisha said, O Prophet of Allah, I am in my monthly cycle. What do you understand? She understood, like we do, that she cannot approach the masjid because she is in her menses. If she were permitted to enter the masjid while she was in her menses, the Prophet would have said to her, no problem, come in, give me the item and leave. But the Prophet did not say that, alayhi salatu wasalam. He said to her, I know that you are on your monthly cycle. Your monthly cycle is not in your hand. Meaning that your hand entering the space of the masjid is okay. What is not okay if you enter the masjid with your body while in the state of monthly cycle. So the hadith is crystal clear. Now, Sheikh, there are many scholars who say this or that. With all due respect, what do we care when we have the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that clearly states a fact that anyone on the street can understand? Okay, Sheikh, the scholars who said it's permissible, didn't they read the hadith? Didn't they understand it like you have done? It's not my job to justify their mistakes. I have the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. You want to counter that? You bring me another hadith or bring me another ayah from the Quran. But to simply reject the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ with a saying of a scholar, of an imam, a'udhu billah. It was reported that the Imam al-Shafi'i, may Allah have mercy on his soul, was addressing the ruling of something by quoting a hadith. So the ruling of so and so is taken from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, who said so and so. So a man stood in his circle and said, okay, Imam Shafi'i, what do you say? And he was furious. He said, do you think I'm wearing a zinnar, which is the rope that the monks of the Christians wear? Do you think I'm a Christian? I tell you, the Prophet said so and so, and you're asking me, what do you say? This is unaccepted in Islam at all. Therefore, the way we learn and understand Islam is the way of the Salaf. Did the Prophet address this issue? Yes, he did, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then we follow it. And we disregard anything that the great scholars of Islam has commented, unless they brought something to show that this hadith which we understood was general, am, and there is something that specified it, or that it was abrogated, or that there is other evidences, or there are other evidences that counter my understanding and yours. In this case, yes. But without that, I see no reason to not follow and abide by the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah, we'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back. That was quite a long break. I almost fell asleep. We have other questions from Zawjatu Yahya. These names, I don't know, Huda TV gets really excellent names. How to tell my husband to quit from smoking even though we are advising him, he just says, anyway, I'm the one who's sinning. Well, actually, he's right. He's the one who will be held accountable of the day of judgment. As a wife, you have to be smart, you have to be intelligent, and you have to weigh the pros and cons. You do not kill a mosquito with a shotgun or a cannon. That would be an overkill. And the sin of smoking, though it's sinful, we resent it, and it is foul smell for people who do it, yet it is not one of the major sins that allow you as a wife to make his life miserable and maybe end up in divorce. So all what you can do is give him advice and tell him that this is not appealing to me. I can't kiss you when you smell like this. If you want to have intimacy or come close to me, please do something about the smell. Maybe eat some chewing gum, peppermint, take a shower, put perfumes, so that he would feel that this is something wrong. But keep on nagging him. This is haram. This is haram. What you're doing is haram. I'm not going to be happy with you. This is not something that you should do. This is not wise. You have to do what results in things that are beneficial for your marriage. So, لَيْسَ عَلَيْكَ هُدَاهُمْ. Their guidance is not up to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If Allah tells the Prophet ﷺ that their guidance is not in your hands, likewise, your husband's guidance is not in your hands. Advise him diplomatically, nicely, try your level best, but at the end of the day, he's the one who's going to pay for all of that. Abdul Jalil, finally, a good name. كان مؤذن, call for the prayer without ablution. The vast majority of scholars say that this is no problem. To enter the masjid without an ablution, there's no problem. And to call the adhan without being in the state of ablution, then this is not an issue. Of course, it's highly recommended to be in the state of wudu or ablution, but a lot of the mu'adhineen, especially those who live near the masjid, would immediately leave their homes and go and give adhan and come back to their home, wash, make wudu, prepare for the salat, and come after 10 or 15 minutes for the iqamah. Therefore, there's nothing wrong in that, insha'Allahu azza wa jal. Nurs Lim. In praying duha, when then sunrise in noon time, what exact time do we have to pray duha? In praying tahajud, after 2 rak'ah, we have to do tasbih. How to do it? Please explain. I'm not good in shorthand, but I think the first part of the question is about the time of duha prayer and when is it that it is prohibited to be prayed. The time of duha prayer is when the sun rises the height of the throw of a spear. And this is timed by 10 to 15 minutes from the actual appearance of the ring of the sun. So once the ring of the sun appears, and after that by 10 or 15 minutes, this is the time you can begin to pray duha. Or also pray Salatul Ishraq if you had prayed Fajr with the congregation and remained in the masjid remembering Allah or reciting the Quran until the sun had risen. When does the time of duha prayer ends? The time of duha prayer ends when the time of prohibition begins. Okay, when does the time of prohibition begins? The time of prohibition in the middle of the day begins about 10 minutes before the adhan of dhuhr. And to make it clearer, this is an erected object. The sun rises from the east. As the sun rises from the east, there is to this object a long shadow. As the sun rises, the shadow is shorter and shorter and shorter until the sun is entirely on top of this erected object, which means that it's in the middle of the sky. Then there is no shade. This is the beginning of time of prohibition. Once the sun goes a little bit to the west and we get a short shadow of the erected object to the east, this is the time of adhan. In Arabic, we call it the time of zawal, meaning the sun is not in the middle of the heavens or the sky anymore. It went to the direction of the west. This shade is called az-zawal. This is when the time of dhuhr begins. So from the time when there was no shadow at all until the time of dhuhr, this is a time of prohibition to pray. And duha prayer is among the time of the prayers that we must not pray at that particular moment, which is approximately between 5 to 10 minutes, just to be safe. Make it 10 minutes before the Adhan of Dhuhr. So you do not pray then. The second question of Norse limb is in praying Tahajjud after 2 rak'ahs, we have to do tasbih. How to do it? Explain, please. No, there is no tasbih after praying 2 rak'ahs of Tahajjud. In some countries, the Muslims innovate. So I remember praying in one of the Islamic countries ages ago in Ramadan. And in Taraweeh, between every 2 rak'ahs, the Imam, after concluding the Salam, he says, Sallu ala nabiyyina Muhammad. Okay. And after the 3rd and 4th rak'ah, he said, Raddu ala Abi Bakr. And I will not say which country was that. So all of this is innovation. There is no tasbih between the 2 rak'ahs of Tahajjud or of Taraweeh. Once you pray your witr and you finish and conclude the last rak'ah of witr, the sunnah is to say 3 times, Subhan al-Malik al-Quddus, Subhan al-Malik al-Quddus. And the 3rd time you prolong it, as the Prophet did, Subhan al-Malik al-Quddus. This is how the Prophet said it, and we follow. So to do tasbih after the 2 rak'ahs of Tahajjud, this is not permissible. Okay, Kenya, Joy Abdul Karim. Is it halal for men to implant teeth? Now, what Kenya is asking about implantation of teeth. And let's think about it. Why would a person implant a teeth? Definitely because his tooth was extracted, was taken out. Either because it was broken, it was totally defective. No one does it for the sake of beautification. No. And it's an expensive procedure and it's painful. So if there is a need for it, the answer is definitely no problem in that. If the dentist extracted 1 or 2 or more of your teeth and you're unable to eat or you're unable to speak and you need something that is artificial to be implanted, there is no problem in that, none whatsoever, inshallah. Sahra Ali says, I have a question regarding Mahr. If your husband, ex, did not give you your Mahr and it has been many years and you notice that he is not intending to do so, can you choose to forgive him? Now, what is the meaning of Mahr? Mahr means dowry. And when a man marries a woman, he has to give her her dowry. This is her right. So if she was kind enough to postpone receiving the dowry, and she says, okay, maybe next year, maybe, I don't want it now, and they consummated the marriage and they had children, this is a debt that the man must give to the woman. Unfortunately, a lot of quote unquote so-called men may deprive their wives, especially after divorce, from their God-given right. And they will be held accountable on the Day of Judgment. The vast majority of them, they misinterpret and they say, yeah, she was unfair to me. She did not do this and that to me. She took money from me. I gave her this. I paid for her medical bills. They misinterpret and they find justification for their evil acts. Akhi, this is not going to help you. On the Day of Judgment, you're going to be held accountable. And this debt, you will pay each and every penny from your own good deeds on the Day of Judgment. Plus interest, if there were any interest, because you have deprived this poor woman from her God-given right while you enjoyed her without paying her anything. And this is totally haram. Now, for you, is it as a wife recommended that you forgive him? This is up to you. If you are in need, why would you forgive him? Sue or sue this evil person, take him to court, and show the evidences, the marriage contract where it's written how much he's supposed to pay you, and even if they throw him in jail, let it be. This is your God-given right. Such a person does not deserve your kindness and forgiveness. But if he's stone broke, seriously, he was trying, but he's unable to provide for you and he doesn't have the means of it, you can reach an agreement of paying it in installments, or you can forgive him and your reward would be to Allah Azza wa Jal. Khan Abd al-Hakim, if I have taken ablution and wore my socks, then next time when I am taking ablution, no need to remove socks and wash my feet? Question mark. Is that ablution valid? Question mark. First of all, this is known as wiping over the socks or the shoes. In Arabic, al-mashu ala al-khuffayn. And this usually is found in the books of fiqh, but also in the books of aqidah, because this is part of the aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Al-Imam Ahmad narrated so many hadiths about this from the companions, and he says that I have not a shroud of doubt about this. So this is why scholars put it in the books of aqidah to differentiate the aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah from those who do not believe in wiping over the socks, such as al-Khawarij and al-Rafida. They reject it. Us, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we believe in it and we apply it. There are conditions for doing this. So can I wipe on any socks or shoes? No, there are conditions. Condition number one, that you must put on the socks or the shoes you want to wipe over while you are in the state of wudu. So after I finish my wudu, now I can pray. If I put on my socks now or after half an hour or an hour where I'm still in my state of wudu, I did not break my wudu, in this case, later on when I make wudu, I can wipe over my socks or shoes. So this is condition one. To put it on, as per the hadith of al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah, may Allah be pleased with him, on or in the state of wudu. Second condition, that the material of the khuf or the socks or the shoes is halal. You don't wear skins of pig, for example, or of maita, dead animals, because this is najis. And I'm not going to go into tanning and whether the meat is eatable or not of that animal. I'm just giving a general idea. Number three, that the socks covers the foot and the ankles. So the area that is usually washed in wudu must be covered with the socks or with the shoes or with the khuf. Because if it's below that, you cannot wipe on it. And number four is that you have to observe the time of wiping. So a resident can wipe for a day and night, 24 hours. And a traveler can wipe for 3 days and 3 nights, which is 72 hours. And I hope this answers your question. This is all the time we have until we meet. Well, actually, and we're not going to meet on Ask Huda. Sheikh Muhammad Salah would be, inshallah, on Sunday. But I'll probably meet you on Ask Zad on Saturday. So until then, I leave you في أمان الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Allah is my heart's speech.